Hello and welcome to this latest installment of the NIMSI Live Events series. My name is Tucker Johnson, and today we are continuing the conversation about the impact of Gen AI on the language services industry. If you haven't already done so, make sure that you are subscribed to NIMSI Insights. Now's your chance. We're coming to you live today on all of our platforms, particularly LinkedIn, YouTube, where all of our old episodes and events are archived. So that's an excellent resource. Go over and subscribe to NIMSI Insights on our YouTube channel and take advantage of all of the free stuff. There's no paywalled stuff over on our YouTube channel. So check that out. Today, we are diving deep into the evolving landscape of localization quality assurance, or LQA, where accuracy is crucial. Our discussion is inspired by this insightful article, The Linguist, the Bot, and the Bug Report, co-authored by our guest today, who I will introduce in a moment, and NIMSI's own Yulia Akulkova. This was recently featured on NIMSI.com, and if you're a NIMSI partner, you can go ahead and check it out and read the whole article on your own time. Or you can open it up now and follow along with us today as we go over some of the key topics today. Today, we're going to be exploring the complexities of integrating AI and automation into linguistic testing processes, focusing on how AI agents can simulate user interactions and identify localization issues, while also acknowledging the crucial role of human oversight and the need for a hybrid approach to truly enhance LQA workflows for digital products. I'm thrilled to introduce our guest today, Sourabh Suri. Sourabh is a localization expert and head of engineering, known for his innovative strategies in internationalization and AI-enhanced globalization systems. He has successfully launched products in over 30 markets, specializing in AI, NLP, and software architecture to create scalable, multilingual systems. Sourabh's expertise lies in automating globalization QA workflows and enhancing user experiences worldwide, and he is coming to us today as a resident NIMSI expert and contributor to recent research published on NIMSI.com. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Yeah, hi, Tucker. I'm doing good.
Good. Well, thank you so much for taking time to come to here today. I try to do your justice in my intro, but what did I miss out? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your backgrounds, and what you do.
Mhm. Yeah, actually, that was so good. I think my family needs to hear it
Right?
tonight. Yeah, yeah. But I think having said that, like all the adjectives were great. The thing is that I go by Sourabh Suri, and basically, what I have been working mostly is, like trying to make the complex solutions simple. And like throughout my life, when since I have joined globalization, I actually found this domain pretty interesting that way. That it was the amalgamation of two of my interests, languages and programming at that time. And since then, I have actually found that language in itself is not so organized in its own right, right? You can use idiomatic language or literal language and whatnot and all that. And those kind of challenges always fascinated me. And that's how I started my journey with in the field of globalization.
Well,
Uh,
this is a
yeah,
great time to be alive for a language geek who is also a technology geek, right?
that's right.
Because there's lots of language geeks out there. There's lots of technology geeks out there. There's fewer language and technology geeks. And now it's like every conversation I seem to be having in this industry is about the intersection between language and technology, essentially. We can get more specific than that, and we're going to in our conversation today, but it's a great time. And also, what I've noticed too is along the same lines is the lines are really starting to get blurred between localization and other functions within an organization. You know, it used to be and still is to a certain extent. Localization is kind of its own little function. The localization team manages the localization, but doesn't have a lot of influence, cooperation, or collaboration with other stakeholder departments other than just kind of taking orders and working with them to get stuff localized. And now what we're seeing with these technologies and AI specifically blurring the lines, more overlap between development, internationalization, testing, quality assurance, user experience. All of these lines are kind of getting blurred, and it's kind of leading to an identity crisis for us pure localization geeks out there. We need to adapt.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting time. In fact, I see that localization is getting the kind of a recognition that it was not getting earlier. It
Fair.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was actually just an add-on, or the afterthought that it was considered earlier. But now, with a lot of technology that is making things easier for the developers to actually, embed localization and internationalization, they are now considering it as a full-fledged, like genuine feature. It's like it is a part of it. It is just like a non-functional requirement. Just like the security is important for your application. Now, most of the companies realize that internationalization, localization is as important. So
So, talk to me a little bit about internationalization because internationalization is something I don't get the opportunity to talk a lot about internationalization. I'm more of a localization guy. And of course, they're related, right? But internationalization are essentially preparing your code, your product, whatever, for the process of localization. I think one of the reasons there isn't a predefined bustling industry around around internationalization in the same way that there is around localization is because internationalization looks very different between different companies. There
yeah,
is no one there's no set of best practices that clearly and definitively applies to each internationalization
that's
project.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I have always missed, or maybe I have always felt that the way we have some software engineering principles like solid principles, or there are many others like like boots principles and all that. um, Internationalization may not have come up with that like that kind of set of principles that are widely known and like considered as the best practices, but that is because of the nature of internationalization itself. The
Right.
internationalization, because it is mostly a part of like the coding, making your application more generic, like to support any language at any given time. um, and when we are adding a new language, we are not again changing the code. So that was the whole idea about internationalization when we started with it. um, and to make your application generic, there were just a few things that externalize your strings, and like try to make it like fit in the UI in a way that even if it expands, it is still doing the job, and a few things over there. However, when those things got stabilized, there were better tools to find out the issues, like code scanning tools and others. We actually saw many more use cases that actually comes under the part of, under internationalization, and that is where things started becoming more interesting. For example, now internationalization is not only about adding a new language. It is actually adding a new region, new locality, to your application. Like you even if you talk about the rules and regulations like GDPRs and all, but that is a part of the internationalization. You need to make certain features very specific to a very specific like a location, or a very specific geography. That is the part of it. Even if you look at it, the uh, geolocation, like based tools, like for example, how Netflix does this, that like there is a content over there, but based on which country you are accessing it from, it may or may not be visible to you, and things like that. So those all things, they all come under internationalization in some way, because it has the impact, and it has the impact on itself, and it also impacts the overall international experience.
Yeah, agreed with everything you just said. As you're talking, the question that's popping into my mind before we get back into the nitty gritty of the article here is
Absolutely.
because NIMSY's audience, we have a lot of localization professionals that aren't really involved with internationalization. They leave that to the product teams, the dev teams.
Yes.
What would you say has been and is the role of the localization department in the internationalization defined in the way that you just defined internationalization? What is the role of the localization department? And do you see that shifting? Like, do you see the role of the localizers, the localization department in companies shifting with the advent of new technologies and as those lines begin to get blurred between functions?
Yes, I think that is a great question and a great observation as well. Of course, because now applications are not, like limited to just a display, like a language or something. It is about the entire feature, which is governed by, first of all, the project managers, like who bring up or program managers who actually come up with the kind of requirements, and the localization team is the one who actually like tells, because localization is something that is visible to the end user.
Hmm.
Internationalization is not. Internationalization's effects are definitely visible,
Hmm.
but internationalization in itself is not visible to the customers, and customers, or like someone who is as close to the customers as localization team or the end users, they are the ones who guide and who can take this particular discussion around internationalization that way, that okay, because of the user experience, we just don't want something to be internationalized, we want it to be internationalized in the right way, like where the user experience is counted, where the number of clicks to actually come up to a particular language, and the whatever comes over. Even if you are, sometimes what happens that many companies, they try to use the templates of some other application or some other company who are internationalized, and they just try to mimic that. Why that doesn't work is because the strategy, the type of your application might be very different from it.
Right.
For example, I may give you an example here that one of the companies that I was working with, they had internationalized content, and it was visible pretty much over there. The only thing was that they were using internationalized, or they were catching the language based on the browser locale. However, um, and because that is one of the practices that many applications follow,
Hmm.
it doesn't forces the user to actually go there and like change the language explicitly. It does all like all by itself. But that particular application was mainly for the public, like the library, the public libraries. And over there, it was becoming so difficult for like many international students who were coming over there, and like just to change the language, they had to go to the settings of the browser and things like that.
Hmm.
So instead of that, what they could have done is that there could be a drop down of the languages, or maybe like some way where the user can actually just go ahead and change the language. So that is where things come up, that localization teams guide these things, that okay, like we want the language, and we want either it to be automated so that people don't have to do it by themselves, or it should be explicit that they go there and they can change the language of their choice, and things like that. So yeah, that is like one of the cases.
Well, and this is a great point because to our point, our thesis, if you will, about the lines getting blurred between these different functions is like I ask you a question about localizations department and role in internationalization, and we end up talking about user experience, right? It's all combining, it's all
It's
related,
combining.
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I see it continuing to merge as time goes on. And you also talk about the, lack of standardization. By definition, it's not standardized, right? That's kind of the point of internationalization. And because of that, it's made it really hard to create tools for localization. And in the recent article on MG.com, you you and Yulia went over some existing out of the box solutions out there, and there's not a lot of them out there. Like when you compare it to like the TMS market, there's not a lot of out of the box solutions for internationalization, but there are some, and
Yeah.
they do their job well. They do what they do well, but there's a certain things that they don't do, and I'm not an expert on these. So I'm going to ask you about these. But in my mind, traditionally, historically, internationalization tools have largely been rules based and looking for commonalities with internationalization bugs, stuff like that. I'll bring it up on screen here. So we take a look at localizer. We take a look at linguistic. That's a cute LINGUI for guided user interface stick, which I am not familiar with. And we take a look at Caspresso as well and provide some information, some comparison of them here. Talk me through this. Talk me through what do these tools do? What do they not do? Which isn't to say that they're lacking. It's just to say that we need to understand what the
Yeah.
limitations are.
Yeah, because every such tool has a different focus. But again, as you rightly said, that it's not that they are lacking; it is that they are addressing a certain, pain points
Right.
in their own right. So, for example, the tool that you talked about, Expresso. So that is mostly around the game localization. That it is a kind of a QA for gaming uh, solutions. So, for example, there is a game, and like you want to see that at each frame, like what kind of language is being used, and things like that. So, while it is it was not started as the localization focused. It was mainly about the the gaming QA, and they saw a great opportunity of plugging in the localization tests in their workflows as well. So that is how they started, and that is a great tool if you are looking for localizing your games, and that is one of the great things about it, that it can actually find out, like for each frames, each screen, what kind of languages are being used, are they consistent, and all that. Then comes another tool that is called Localizer QA, that is from Lingoport. And they have, one of the exciting feature of localizer QA is, first of all, it is context, because one of the principles of localization QA or linguistic QA is that context is king, right?
Hmm.
And the localizer QA does the same, that it gives you the entire screen of the application. You navigate through the application, and whenever you find any issue or any bug, you can correct it over there. Like specifically for the linguistic issues in the linguistic nature. It doesn't test the datetime formats, or maybe it can show you that how the content looks actually, but it doesn't dictate that whether it is an issue or not. So which means that uh, as a QA, I can use it. I can navigate through the entire application, and wherever I find issues, I can just go there and fix the issues with the context, because now I have the context ready with me. So this is a great tool over there.
Hmm.
And then comes the third one, which is linguistic. That is by universalization.ai. This is something that we have worked on. And the whole idea of linguistic was, first of all, we also wanted to give the context to the users, because, again, we believe that you cannot do the justice to the linguistic QA if you are not giving the context. So that is one thing that we also wanted to give. So I would like to give you an example, that there is a particular screen where I can have the word open on a button. And then there is another screen where I am using the same word open as a status.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, so now what happens is that if you are not giving the context, the translator may not know which open to be used in a different language. In English, it is okay, like it is just the word open. But at one side, it is open as a verb, which might be used differently in a different language. For example, in German, it is called offenen. But like open as a status, as an adjective, it becomes different. Over there in German, it is called offen. But how and what to use is something that the translators miss if they are just looking at the translations, and they are just trying to match the translations with the source language and all that. So that is where the context makes a lot of sense. And localizer QA does the same job, that like they give the the context to the translators for this. As I mentioned, that the focus of localizer QA is mostly that you like need to find the issues yourself, and whatever matters, you can fix it accordingly. The focus of linguistic by universalization is giving the most of the test cases out of the box. So it is just like I want to go to like inspect my car. Maybe I want to sell it or something. Either I can dictate a machinist saying that okay, you have to test it or inspect it for for its mileage, maybe for the shockers, for the way engine is working, and many other parameters. Or what I can do is that I can go to a machinist who is providing a kind of a package that we run 150 tests on or inspections on every car. So it becomes very easy, because now I don't have to dictate, I don't have to keep a kind of a mental uh, list of all the tests that I need to perform on an application. And that is where linguistic by universalization.ai they provide most of the test cases that way. Like you just have to run the application, and while you are navigating it, it will start finding the issues by itself. That okay, this screen looks good, but we have like 7 or 8 issues over here. Somewhere the string is actually overflowing, and another place string doesn't seem to be translated or localized in a different language. Another place, another element is showing date, but this date doesn't, is not presented in the format of the current locale, and things like that. And not only this, like when we were developing it, of course, our idea was to give 100% of a localization and internationalization testing for the application. But we saw a great opportunity over there to actually do it for the accessibility as well. So now, while you are actually,
More blurred lines.
yeah, exactly,
Right?
yes. So
It's
there
all
is another,
related.
yes. And so one is localization, one is accessibility, and then there is localization in the accessibility as well, right? So for example, that the screen readers should be reading the the image, but then like whatever it is reading, the alt text needs to be localized as well, and things like that. So like that is what we try to provide over here. So while you are running it, you don't have to worry about what kind of issues are there, and whether you are missing any issue or not. First of all, I would like to say that localization QA is one of the best candidate for automation in that
Okay.
sense. Yeah. And maybe I'll give you an example. You may already know about it, or maybe it is an epiphany. It is going to be an epiphany for you. But do you know that your nose is always visible to your eyes?
And now you're gonna see me go cross-eyed.
Yeah, yeah. But like normally, if you see it, like you will start noticing it. But our eyes are built in the way that you know what to ignore and what not to ignore in most of the cases. But this superpower also comes with a kind of a flaw, because like we sometimes don't know what to be ignored and what not, and we tend to miss or ignore things that actually matter, specifically the subtleties. So, for example, there is a long word with a typo, like a spell check or
Yeah.
something. You might miss it, and like with the human eye, and that is where automation does a great job. It is not going to ignore anything until unless you actually say it specifically. So it will see like whatever test cases you are asking it to run or perform on any UI. It will keep on doing it, and it will do it diligently every time, no matter how many times you have actually said it. However, when we are actually as a human, when we are testing the application, we might do a great job in the first run of the testing, but the second time we tend to ignore certain things. We know that how things are running and all that, and that is where things start missing out. So yeah, so that is the idea that with linguistic, we never wanted the QA to miss out on anything. So if there are like I think we have somewhere around 30 tests to on to be performed on each and every element of the application. It looks for the language. It looks for what kind of data it is presenting. It
Mhm.
looks for the overflows or not. It also looks for the accessibility portion of it. Whether it is truncated, whether the color contrasts are okay as per the accessibility or not, and all that stuff. So it does everything. You don't have to keep everything in mind that, okay, I have to perform like linguistic test, then I have to see the localization, I have to see the overflows and all that, because that is something that this bot already does. It just like scans the entire page. It sees that, hey, there are certain things that are off to me, and like you need to fix it.
And then but then you need to fix it, right? So we're
Yeah,
getting into so kind of. I wanted to start off, and I think you've done a great job of it, kind of exploring what the traditional or existing tech stack is to be able to scan for internationalization issues, localization issues, right? And once again, I know in this the topic of this
yeah,
podcast is supposed to be about LQA and quality assurance. We're talking a lot about internationalization and bugs, and it's all related, right?
yeah,
So we have an
absolutely.
understanding of the current solutions available out there on the market. We've highlighted three of them. There's
Mm,
more, right? But we've
yeah,
highlighted three of them. Now we're getting into what AI can do and what AI agents are capable of doing in the realm of LQA. And I'll just start off, I'll read this quote from you in this article here. It says, linguistic quality shouldn't be an afterthought. And leveraging
absolutely.
LLMs can now help unify localization, internationalization, UI, and accessibility testing workflows into a single, seamless, and scalable process. With out of the box test cases and adaptive nature, modern testing solutions save users valuable time otherwise spent writing and maintaining automation scripts. Linguistic testing automation helps finding issues from day one. And well put, it helps finding these issues, right? So, kind of where I want to go now is in this realm of AI, what becomes the agent's job? What becomes the artificial intelligence language, large language model? What responsibilities does it have? And what is the shifting responsibility of the tester in this new reality that we're in?
Yeah, great. So yeah, this is a very important aspect of using AI in LQA, and we need to be very very specific about what it basically there is a concept that what it can do versus what it should be doing, right?
Okay.
Because when we talk about LLMs in specific, like of course there are many different ways or nature of artificial intelligence, starting from the rule based. So even that is called AI, that like a rule based or heuristics. Like that was the maybe initial birth of AI over there, or maybe generally I say that the AI started, or like artificial started when we start when we like learned how to put the conditions in your application, like the if then else.
Right. I mean, a well crafted
If-
Excel sheet can be
yeah,
called AI, right? I've
exactly.
certainly called my Excel sheets AI when I was trying to impress someone. So
That's right.
I get it. It's
Yeah,
not
but yeah,
generative AI, though.
yeah. So yeah, with the generative AI, like one of the thing is that first of all we need to understand that it is a generative AI. It is not a translation AI, right? So there is a difference.
Th-
There is a very fine difference.
Important. That's an important point. I think a lot of times we gloss over in our
Yeah,
conversations in this
that's right.
industry.
Because like the Actually, translation came, or like even transcreation actually came as a byproduct of using the generative AI.
Hmm.
Generative AI was actually made to just make sense out of the unstructured text, right? And because of its capability, we actually saw great use cases like transcreation, translations, and the many other things that like a Gen AI or LLMs actually provide pretty well. However, the thing is that when we are doing it, you cannot scale your like a execution of test cases, or like a certain workflows, until they are not deterministic. By nature, Gen AI is not deterministic. Like it is not determined that if I am giving this input, I am always going to get this output.
Hmm.
Deterministic is something where I actually know that giving this input, I am going to have this output always. And like deterministic are more efficient. They can run well. They are scaled well, and all those things. If you want to run, for example, 10,000 lines, or 10,000 tests in a given day, deterministic, because it knows that what is the rule I am going to run. It will just like execute those, and it can do that in seconds and all that. However, with Gen AI, it can do a lot of things, but down the line, like beyond a certain capacity, because of its context window and other things, hallucinations and all that start coming in.
Right.
With hallucination, the problem is that even if you start giving, so you might have already experienced this, that you are maybe like working on a particular article, or maybe particular output using chat gpt, or any gen ai of your choice. And it gives you a great like results initially. But when you keep on working on that document, after certain like your prompts, it start giving you unexpected or unpredictable results. Like I will it start in fact like sometimes act like a rebellious child. But if I'm saying don't do this, it will still do it.
Hmm.
The only thing is that it will still be polite. It will say that, hey, I have done it for you. But
Right.
but for example, like you just run it a couple of times. You say that, okay, I don't want very easy use case. Like you are running a test, and you just ask it that, hey, remove all the m dashes, because that shows that the text is actually a pretty AI generated and all. It will do it, and the new output will still have m dashes.
Yeah. I know. Don't
Yeah.
ask me how I know, but I
And then
know.
you say that, okay, removes antithesis. It will say that I am removing antithesis, but with the new text there, it is introducing antithesis in some other areas as well,
Right.
and so on and so forth. So which means that it is not predictable, and you cannot use it like in the production for where predictability is actually important. And testing by nature is deterministic. Testing is that when I test it, that when I give a certain output or input, am I getting the same output or not, or desired output or not. So that way, like although we can say that I can give like some context, and like some translation or maybe screens to the gen ai, and say that, okay, find these issues to me. Maybe it can do a great job initially, but over the time it will stop doing that. It will start like highlighting wrong areas and all those things. So generative ai is not for the testing. It is actually great for exploring. So what it means is that, for example, we have actually built the agentic ai, like for the same linguistic.
Hmm.
So initially, so how in linguistic works is that you give it certain workflows or the screens, and it navigates to each and every screen, finds all the issues, and give it to you. The thing is that it was okay until it was not, because with the workflows, if you can record and play workflows, great, it works pretty well. But many a times you yourself don't have time to run all the workflows, or maybe list all the workflows. So while we wanted to keep our testing deterministic, we also wanted to see that can we generate the uh, like a reliable workflows for the applications
Mhm.
that we can plug in to linguistic, and it can start using that as the map. So for example, what we do is we take the agentic AI to scan through your application and find out the use case, find out the workflows that matches with my requirement. For example, go there and like book a ticket. So it will go there. It will see that like what all screens actually are needed to do that. However, like once you have gone there, you give that particular map to your application, and then this application should be using your like the map given by the agentic AI and start scanning accordingly. Yeah, this is a great like diagram. So here like one of the things is that here what we are trying to do is that agentic AI, like we are navigating through agentic AI, we are seeing the multilingual screens, and that is what we capture. OCR, like text extraction happens. LQA is done, error classification, and like even the human in the loop reviews are done accordingly. Basically called like learning agents as well.
Mhm.
Keeps on learning when they are going like to a particular like a workflow. So what we have done is that instead of using this for the every run, because one tokens are expensive, much expensive than the normal like executions.
Right.
So every
And
time
that's the thing. I feel like a broken record because I say this all the time on this
yeah,
podcast and elsewhere when I'm talking about AI. Is that it's kind of the one thing that no one really talks about
yeah,
is how much does it cost, right? Everyone talks about what AI can do. No one's really talking about like how much it can cost, and I see a lot of risk there because if you're building out solutions or programs that are heavily based upon AI, what happens when that cost model changes,
that's
right?
right.
Because I don't think
Right.
the cost model is final.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think there's still too many unknowns, and people are still figuring it out, and people are offering a lot of free. Everyone's using the Chat GPT for free and all of this stuff, and the day's coming when
Yeah,
people are going to have to start monetizing this stuff. And if your
exactly.
entire solution is built upon tokens, then what do you do when that changes?
Yeah, that's right. So that is where when you have these like tokens, they are consumed pretty fast when you are actually running such kind of use cases.
Hmm.
So what you can do is because and
So it's about figuring out in which use cases don't
yeah,
consume which use cases get better gas mileage.
that's right. Yes,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah, because what happens is that just imagine that you are running your CI/CD like cycle, and over there you have plugged in that like with every new commits, you have to run your application, like a test the application accordingly. So it will be as many numbers of cycles your application is running using agentic AI, for example, or like the generative AI, consuming so many tokens for the things that you have already discovered,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
So instead of using it for the every cycle, why don't you use it as a cartographer, like someone who is actually going there, preparing a map for you, and then you start using it. Your application start using it for the runs. Of course, whenever you find that there is a like change in the map or change in the like route, maybe like a new element is added, or new navigation is added, or maybe your screen is like moved from one place to another, you can always call agentic AI that, hey, I think that this map is not working anymore, give me a new map, just explore it
Yeah.
once again. So instead of doing it every time, just do it wherever it is must. So like my philosophy actually is that always go for deterministic and use AI when it's must.
I like that
Because
because then you're getting the most gas mileage for
yeah,
the
that's
most
right.
bang for your buck,
Yeah,
right?
and you can do a lot of things, like using the traditional ways as well. Like there are a lot of great places where heuristics is also like so useful and so efficient and so fast.
Mhm.
Because like another thing is that the real case issue with using like a agentic AI or Gen AI is that it is not as fast. It is
Right.
pretty slow. Like you give it, you start getting like the responses and all that, and then yeah. So there is one more very interesting thing. You give like some input and ask chat GPT that, okay, give me the result in a table, like just yes or no or pass or fail or whatsoever. It can give you the table, but along with that, it will have a comment saying that, hey, here is your table.
Hmm.
As
Right.
you said, we have created the table. So you have to post process it. Like once you have got it, until you have given the right kind of prompts that, okay, don't give me anything else, just give me the table.
Right.
And, it is great at, basically, great at following your instructions until sometime, and then it will start behaving it that he doesn't even like know you. So like that is where that like you will start giving the instructions, and it won't follow at all. So those are the current challenges. Maybe like in future they may change. I'm not very sure that whether those will be changed by the LLMs or like the way they are built today, or maybe we will have something like that looks like LLM, but it is the different like internally
Yeah.
or architecturally. Because there are a lot of things like the way it is developed, hallucinations can be minimized, but not it won't be like eliminated fully, because that is the way like it is structured, it is built, because the moment you stop that hallucination factors, uh, a lot of great things that LLMs provide today will not work, because like they all are following the same principle,
Right.
same principle of randomization, and many other things.
Well, and it's just like any tool, like, and we said the same thing about the deterministic tools, the rules based is like, it's a great tool, but just like with any tool, you need to know what it does well and what it
Yeah,
doesn't do well, right? And
exactly.
you need to use that tool for what it does well. And this is tied into you're talking about the hybrid approach, where use the AI for what AI does well, and then use other tools for what it does well. One thing that we haven't talked a whole lot about today, I mean, it's kind of been implicit throughout this conversation, but what is the changing role of the linguists, or the manager, the quality manager, the project manager, right? What is the changing role of the localization or internationalization or user experience or accessibility professional out there who, up until recently, had very clearly defined jobs? 5 years from now, what is their job going to look like?
Yeah. Actually, like on this, generally I tell this to my like friends, that we are the edge of the cutting edge. What it means is that we are like, of course, we always talk about the cutting edge technologies and all that, but the real edge is we who are actually who will be just working on the edge cases going ahead.
Hmm.
So what it means is that for example, like you don't need to perform the repeatable tasks, but every application has the edge cases. So, and the beauty of edge cases is that they cannot be generalized but in a way that the solutions will be available always.
Hmm.
So for example, like you are working on a feature which is very very specific to your application or your domain, and the cost of building the solution, a generic solution, becomes more if and there is no usage at all, because this is very specific to you.
Right.
This is your unique like a selling proposition, maybe, or unique identifier.
Well, and this is historic, and this is what we talked about at the beginning of the conversation with the challenge with building internationalization solutions that are
Exactly.
generic. You can build something that's a little useful for a lot of people, or a lot of useful for a little people,
That's
right?
right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So, like there is always this 80-20 principle that, 20% of the things can be repeatable, or, you can use your application for those things. And, and they work 80% of the time. but there are some very specific use cases, the niche, like that you need to work on, and that is like applicable to all of us, like the linguists, the project managers, the engineers, everyone. Like we can write the code using Gen AI today, but still, like the engineers are needed because they are the ones who are actually gatekeeping that what kind of code is actually right and wrong, and
Hmm.
so on. Same thing happens with the human. Like you can actually use any tool. It can find, it can translate, it can do like a find whether the content is translated well or not, and you can also give some sort of tone and all those things, and it may try that whether the tone of the language is correct or not. But that is the human thing, that you are the one who are actually going to make it. The only thing that I feel now is that when you are working on something, you are the one who is signing off like certain things. You will be required for those things, and those things need to be very, very well tested and well built, because that is the whole duty of you is not like produce the translations anymore. Your duty is to sign off, to see whether the translation is correct or not. And like that is where you need to be very very sure of what you are signing off, and it is going to impact the most important areas. It is not only about, again, the generic like a UI content and all that stuff. You are required more on maybe the legal applications, like the end user licenses and all those things. You can get it translated, but again, you have to be very, very sure whether the language like the translated content is conveying the same thing or not, or
So
whether it needs a kind of
a lot of
uh,
the same stuff we've been talking about for 10 years, right?
yeah,
With remember, machine translation has existed for a long time, right?
exactly,
And
exactly,
that's
yeah,
one thing like we don't say enough in our
yeah,
industry. We were like, "Oh, AI, it's this new thing." Ah,
yeah,
bullshit. We've had AI in our industry for a long time. It's called machine
for a long
translation,
time. Yeah. In
right?
fact, I have seen the use of AI in languages, for maybe like a 3 to 4 decades. In fact, Sal, your last guest was also talking about the same thing, and
Hmm. Yep.
that it has been there for last couple of decades already.
Yeah.
So I remember that when Windows was not the operating system, it was a software that used to run on operating system like DOS.
Yeah.
So there was Win32, right? You may remember. And in Win32, we used to have Office, Microsoft Office.
I
And
remember. Yeah.
yeah, and that MS Word, over there, they were, I'm talking about like early 90s or maybe mid 90s. That is the time when, even at that time, they were giving the thesaurus, the dictionaries in the word processing. And, like you click on one word and it will show you all the related words. Then you can click on another one, and, so on and so forth. And it was so well built. Like that was probably the first encounter of myself with the like technology or AI in the language, in the field of language. So it is pretty old. People, the thing is that people, like get worried when they think that their scope of work is what they are doing it today,
Yeah.
but it is ever evolving.
Yeah.
And like we as a human race is pretty greedy. Like once we see that like certain of our use cases are being served pretty well by technology, we start like exploring more. We start thinking of a lot of new stuff. We have been so far most of our discussions had been always about the language pairs and things like that. But are we thinking of the languages within the language, like I'm not talking about the dialects, but for example, there is a new Gen Z language altogether, like
Yeah.
and is that language like digitally, first of all, the like birth of Gen Z language is actually digital, but there is no particular tool that actually says that, okay, like I will translate this to Gen Z language,
Right.
right? So
Not
it is
yet.
still, yeah. And it's all started with like the chat lingos and all that stuff. when we started get shortening the words and whatnot.
The
But even
acronyms and
today,
yeah.
acronyms and even the new words coming up from those acronyms. For example,
Hell, you
many
take it one
people,
step further. Emoji usage.
yeah, emojis use it. Yeah, so we are actually getting more use cases, more stuff that currently AI cannot handle, and those are the things that. The only thing I remember, Tucker, once you came to Vancouver Wheeler, and one of the interesting thing that you said, which I always believed in, is that it is just like you need to be one of the best in your industry. It is just like when a lion is coming, it is not that how fast you can run. It is that if you can run faster than your friend, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
yeah, and that is one of the things that I always believed in, that of course, the use cases change and you need to be adaptable as much. That there will be new use cases. You will be though you need to be savvy with the new tools. Now is not the time when we can just be like a pretty traditional in certain way of work, because technology is actually coming up, and you need to know the technologies. You need to use it. You need to be savvy about it.
Well, yeah, and people. So I've had this conversation with others, and they say, "Oh, I feel sorry for the new generation coming in," and my response is, "I don't feel sorry for them because they're young, they're
That's
excited, they're full of energy, they want to learn new things, and they're going to adapt." Right? I feel sorry for the old, tired people
yeah,
in our industry that are
that
like, I got 10 years till retirement. I don't want to learn a new technology. I just want to keep things, things are better the way they used to be. Those are the people I feel sorry for because there's no future in that. You have to be
absolutely.
on top of things. Like I look at Renato, right?
Yeah,
Nim's my business partner, and I'm amazed. I mean, he's old, right?
yeah,
I'm not going to
exactly.
date him, but he's an old industry veteran, and he has somehow been able to still keep that spark, and he still gets excited about this stuff, whereas I
Yeah,
see other people in this industry that have been around for decades, and we get complacent, right? So I think
yeah,
that's it. Is it's not fight don't fight the technology, fight the complacency that you
yeah.
feel inside
That's
yourself.
yeah. So there is a saying that if you can't beat them, join them, right?
Right.
So yeah, and it is just like that. You won't be able to beat AI.
No.
Of course, and so it's better to join it. Better to see that how it is serving you, and what you can do better with the AI. Like, just don't make work on the stuff where AI can replace you. See that there could be certain use cases where AI can just help you, augment you. That is how it is said, that it is always a AI augmented uh, stuff, not a AI as a replacement.
Right. And there's so much that it can do. I mean, I use it every day and it helps me um immensely. Just making it's not that I'm using it to replace myself. I'm using it to make myself work faster, right? If I can,
Exactly.
5 minutes before this show, if I can go and say, "Hey, summarize this article for me." Don't I did read the article, but hey, give me a refresher, give me some talking points, right? Awesome. That just made my life easier,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And it is actually helping, if it is done, it is actually helping the conversation, right? And that is what it is. Like, if I'm just saying that, okay, there is a summarization and that is all, you are actually using that summarization. You are actually using the talking points from that article pretty well, right? And that is what even I do. Like, n- we have always been struggling with the TLDR, right?
Right.
So, and when there is some, and the problem is that a good stuff mostly comes as the TLDR. So there is a lot of great wisdom over there. So we have a great tool to that can summarize it, that can find out what are the things. It is actually just like sculpting, or sorry, making that sculptures, the sculpting, that basically what the sculpting is, that there is a piece of stone, you remove all the unwanted stuff,
Right.
and what is present to you is a sculpture.
Right.
And that is what we can do with the AI. Like, but there is a lot of information just remove like what is unwanted in your context, and you will have something that is more important to you.
Yep. Here, here. Here, here. Well, I'm watching the clock here. We're about out of time today. Sourabh, it's been really enlightening to
Yeah.
talk to you. I really appreciate hearing all of your expertise. Where can people find you? Should they follow you on LinkedIn? Are you going to be attending any conferences upcoming? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course you can like follow me on LinkedIn. Like that is the easiest thing to be done, because I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and like generally respond accordingly. Apart from that, there are like some upcoming talks that I'll be providing like the details of pretty soon. And then yeah, just go and visit our website as well, the universalization.ai. In fact, Tucker, I would like to say that like when I was going through a lot of your I am one of the like a constant viewer of your like videos.
I'm
I don't
sorry.
shall I call it a podcast or what? But like you always like start with saying that it is always about like we talk about internationalization, localization, and a lot of izations. So there is like today we are talking about universalization as well. So like that's how it is.
It
So
is.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, sir. I will take us out here. Ladies, gentlemen, chat, it's been a pleasure today. If you enjoyed this NIMSY Live event, then head on over to the NIMSY LinkedIn page. If you go over there, hunt down the events. We've got a bunch of events coming up here. If you like this topic, particularly check out the one on September 10th when we're going to be going over the Language Technology Radar. That's our flagship report we publish every year, led by the Walking Encyclopedia, Yulia Akulkova. So that's going to be a good one. Wednesday, September 10th, 10 o'clock PDT. Once again, my name is Tucker Johnson. I appreciate my guest today, Sourabh. I appreciate my colleagues here at NIMSY Insights doing all the hard work so I can have these interesting conversations. And finally, I appreciate you, the audience, whether you're joining us live or watching the recording. Thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to next time. Cheers.
Thank you.